Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today you'll be astronomers using observations and logical deductions to search for a hypothetical planet, because at the edge of our solar system a dark planet may lurk. Back in 2015, astronomers estimated a large distant planet could explain the unique orbits of dwarf planets and other objects. Since then, astronomers have been scanning the sky hoping to find this planet. Today, that's exactly what you'll be doing. The Search for Planet X is a deduction game for 2 to 4 players, ages 13 and up, takes 60 minutes to play, and is published by Fox Trot Games. Now it's on Kickstarter right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works, and then I'll see you on the other side. This is a Kickstarter preview, so all the art and components you see here are prototype and not final. You're going to want to check the Kickstarter project page in the link in the description below to see all the final art and components. Here we have the board set up for 4 players for the Search for Planet X. Now there's 2 ways to play the game, the standard mode and expert mode. I'm going to cover the standard mode for most of this video, and at the end I'll show you a little bit about the expert mode. Now in the standard mode there's actually 12 different numbered sectors that are around the entire board, and you're going to be searching and scanning and trying to deduce things to try to find Planet X. Now each player will get a player shield that will keep their notes secret, but I have it laid flat right now to show you all the different things to know about the deduction and the principles of the astronomy in the Search for Planet X. Now Planet X itself, there's only one of them, and again I'm just going with a standard mode here for everything. This is never going to be adjacent to one of the dwarf planets, and the Planet X always appears empty when you scan and you target it, which we'll talk about later. The dwarf planet is never adjacent to Planet X, and there's only one of them here. There's 2 truly empty sectors, and again, remember that Planet X always appears to be empty when you scan it. Now there's 2 gas clouds, and each gas cloud is adjacent to at least one truly empty space, so that's some logic there. And these sets of logic are the same for every game. I'm going to show you some later that will change in each game, but these ones are always the same. Now the asteroid fields, there's 4 of those, and each one is either adjacent to at least one other asteroid field in either 2 pairs or a band of 4. So it's either like this, 2 sections of 2 next to each other, and these 2 aren't, or all 4 together like that. And the comets, there's 2 of those. They're only in prime sections, meaning numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, and 11. So you'll be using these principles to help guide your deduction as you learn things to try to find Planet X. Now notice each side of the board has an icon. These are the different seasons. For example, we are facing the autumn, which has sector 1 in the upper left and section 5 in the upper right, things like that. And that's important because behind every player's shield, they're going to get a note sheet that's specific for the way that they're viewing the board, because it's very important that the orientation of these sectors matches what you're looking at, because that makes the deduction, a lot more straightforward. And zooming in here a little bit, even though your player shield talked about the deduction and the principles of astronomy as I mentioned before, it's also summarized here on your note sheet. Players will also get some tokens that are going to help them publish theories and target specific sectors throughout the game. Now the game has an app that is needed for the game, but it really helps the game out quite a bit. Now you can either have this on just one device, or everyone can have it on their own devices, or any mix of those. Now here we have start a new game or enter a game code. To start a new game, you click that, and it's going to say standard mode or expert. We're going to do standard, so we click that, and we're going to start the new game. Now it's going to give us a code. Now you saw at the beginning it said you could enter a code. All the other players that want to have their own device, it syncs it with this same deduction for this game. So you would tell them A2Q6, for example. Now you also get to select your color, which we already did here, purple, and you get to select your level of difficulty. And this is cool because if you're playing with different levels of experience, you can go ahead and change that. So in this case, let's go with beginner. It's going to give us 8 clues. And here we go. It's actually showing us the different clues that we're going to start with that we're going to be able to mark off here, like, hey, sector 1's not a dwarf planet, sector 2 is not a gas cloud, and so on and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and mark those off on our deduction sheets. Now here you can see I've made those notes by crossing off the specific types of things that it said were not in certain sectors. Now the game is played in turn order, and it's going to be whoever is furthest back. In this case, purple is furthest back. We're all in the same sector, but purple is furthest back, so they'll go first. They're going to spend a certain amount of time on trying to do one of 4 things. So here we have the app up again, and let's say we want to scan. So that's one of the things you can do, and it will tell you how much time it takes to do that. For example, scanning will take anywhere between 3 and 4 units of time, where target will take 4, locate planet X is 5, and research is 1. So let's go and try to scan. We'll click scan right there, and then we're going to scan for something. We're going to scan for, let's say, an asteroid field. So we'll do that, and we'll say in sectors 2 through, let's say, 3. In this case, it says there are no asteroid fields in sectors 2 through 3. Now when scanning, if you're scanning between 1 and 3 sectors, it's 4 time. 4 to 6 sectors is 3, and 7 to 9 is 2, because if you're doing less sectors, you're actually, focusing more, so it takes a little bit more time, where over here, you're just kind of like quickly scanning a lot of different places. And so we were able to make that here. There's no asteroid fields in 2 and 3. Now we can see that there's asteroid possibilities here, asteroid field possibilities here. And we know that asteroid fields are adjacent to at least one other asteroid field, so we'll keep that in mind as we start to learn a little bit more. And you can also keep track of all your actions. In this case, I scanned 2 to 3 sectors, and the result was 0 asteroid fields. Now, if you remember, we spent 4 time to do that. So we actually moved our purple pawn 1, 2, 3, 4 sectors over like this. And this is important because this is turn order. If other players take actions that take less time, let's say blue goes here, let's say here, let's say here, then what's going to happen is, we'll show you what some more things happen here, but essentially the red player is going to get to go next, then green, then blue, and this keeps happening. So if you take something that takes a lot of time, other players are going to be able to take some more smaller actions possibly before you take another action. However, let's just say it's like this and red just took their turn. Now, as soon as there's no one left on this, this will spin until it gets to a spot where there is 1 pawn. If there was nobody here, it would have spun again. So what this does is it changes the visible sky as to which sectors you can look at. So now you can only look at 2 through 7, for example. And that's important because you can only scan or target into these visible sky sectors. And speaking of, we've already scanned, let's talk about target. Now to target, you must have one of these target tokens. Everyone's given 2 of these. You would spend it out of the game, and we can only, again, either scan or target the visible sky, which is right now 2 through 7. We don't know anything about 6, so let's go ahead and target that. And so here we're going to target. It's the second one down. It's going to cost us 4 time. So we go ahead like this, and we'll say sector 6. And we'll go ahead and target. So it's going to tell us to move the player piece 4, and there is an asteroid field in sector 6. And so we have circled that asteroid field in sector 6. Now if we remember, the asteroid fields are adjacent to at least one other in either pairs or in a band of 4. And so since this is here and this one's crossed out, we know that at least there's another asteroid field right here. Now these 4 might be the band of 4. We don't know yet. It could be these 2, and it maybe could be these 2 or these 2 or something like that as well. We just don't know yet. Now moving that time around the board is important because, again, it's turn order. Now if somebody else moves to the same sector as you, they actually move in front of you, and then if this was sort of the last people that haven't taken turns yet, it goes whoever's last here first. Essentially we get to go. Now let's show you another action you can take on your turn, research. It is the 4th one down, it costs 1 time, and this is going to give you a specific clue that only has to do with this specific game code, because these change for each game. So we were talking about those asteroid fields earlier. So let's go ahead and go asteroid fields and dwarf planet. That's F. We're going to go ahead and click that. By the way, you cannot research 2 turns in a row. So this says, okay, we move our timepiece 1. Asteroid fields and dwarf planets. No asteroid field is adjacent to a dwarf planet. And it also reminds you that you must do a different action next turn. So no asteroid field is adjacent to a dwarf planet. Now down here in this research section, under F, that was the one I clicked on, no asteroid field is adjacent to dwarf planets. And the little shorthand there is what you can see here as well. So you keep your notes here, and as you learn things, you'll be able to use this to deduce other things and cross other things off. Like right now, we know that these 2 are asteroids for sure. We know that it cannot be adjacent to. So we can cross off this, and we could cross off, oops, this one right there, because it can't be in an adjacent sector to that. I want to show you something interesting about this game as well. Let's say red just took their turn and they moved 2 time like that. Normally this would skip up here because red's like the last one. They're still going to have the next turn because everyone else is way ahead of them. But let's say that happened. This would stop here and you would do a theory phase, and then after that would go back to here. There's actually 4 of these on the board. Now each player in turn order may take one of their tokens for a specific type feature and place it out on the board. Now how this works is, let's say this was the red player. Everyone puts up to 1 in the basic game or up to 2 of these in the expert game, like this, so people can't tell if you're doing a theory or not. And then once everyone is ready, then you all reveal, and then in turn order, the players are going to place this. The red is the furthest back, so they're going to place their red token. Now when placing a token, they do it face down. Let's say they're doing it about sector 2, and the furthest one back like that. Now they don't have to be in the visible sky. Any sector can have a theory. Now it's also possible for another player to put a theory at the same time in the same sector like that. Let's say blue puts one like that, and let's say purple puts theirs like that. Then all of them will move forward 1 just like this. So after you've gotten through your 3rd one, during the 4th, this is going to go down like this, and any of the ones that are down here, they will get flipped, and you will essentially see if they're correct or not through a peer review. Now normally if there's multiples doing peer review, you'd start with the lowest sector, work your way up, but we're going to do this one because this is basically what we know about our sheet right now. So I'm just going to show you this. This is flipped up. We are saying there's an asteroid field in 7. Okay, so we're going to click peer review, and we're doing sector 7, and we are saying asteroid field. Correct. Sector 7 has an asteroid field because we already figured that out. Now let's just say there were other players that also had theories. We would now flip them up. Now if they're correct, they would stay. If they're incorrect, this player would have to move 1 unit of time, like that, because they're incorrect, and this goes out of the game. And once something has been correct like this, no one else can make a theory on this sector for the rest of the game. Now if it was incorrect, we would have removed my incorrect one, and we would, everyone would know that that's not correct, and that would have been removed from the game. And again, normally you would essentially resolve all theories that are made it to this spot for each sector, starting with the smallest one, going to the largest, but we're just showing you that one for an example. Now, if the wheel spins and it's going to cover this, now first of all you do a theory because it's the outer one, then you would conduct a conference. That's what that one is. Okay, so here we're going to, in the app, select Planet X Conference. It's towards the bottom there. And then we're going to select the current conference. There's just one of them. It only happens once per game, regardless of how many times that wheel spins in the basic game. It says Planet X is not directly opposite a comet. So now in that little X1 spot, we would say, yeah, PX for Planet X is not directly opposite to a comet. And at some point, when we find a comet, we will know for sure that Planet X won't be there, and we can cross that off as well during our deduction. Now at some point, you might feel like you know where Planet X is. On your turn for one of the actions, it's the last one we're showing you. The third one down, locate Planet X. It costs 5 times. So we go that, we say what location it's in. Let's just say 3. We're making this up because we don't know yet. But it also will ask you what is in the adjacent sectors. So what is in sector 2? Let's say an asteroid field. What is in sector 4? Let's say it's empty. And let's just say look for Planet X. Wrong. So you're going to move your player piece 5. You did not locate Planet X. At least one piece of information is not correct, but doesn't tell you too much detail. Now, if you get it correct, you just tell other players that you got it correct, but you don't tell them where it is, and they will go to the end game stage. Now, depending on where the other players are in reference to you, let's say we got it right, they might be able to have another option. If they're in the same spot as you, that's it. That's the end of the game for them. They do nothing else. If they're further back, they have a couple of options. Now, if they're between 1 and 3 sectors, which both of these are, they can decide to submit one theory and see if it's correct to try to get points. Or they can try to locate Planet X, and essentially you'll get 2 points for each sector behind that you are. For example, if this player got it, it'd be 2, 4. They essentially would get 4 points because they're 2 sectors behind. If this one got Planet X, they would get 2, 4, 6 because they're 3 sectors behind. Or they could try to put in a theory and get some points that way. Then we go to final scoring, and all of the theories that are not yet flipped up will get flipped up, and then any player that has gotten a theory correct in their sector and they were the first one to do it or tied will get a point for each of those. Then for all correct theories, if it's an asteroid field, you get 2 points, a dwarf planet 4, a comet 3, a gas cloud, 4 points, and if you were the first to get Planet X correct, you'll get 10. And then again, if you got it correct sort of at the end of the game there, as I just showed, you get a certain amount of points depending on how many sectors you were behind the person that got it first. And at that point, whoever has the most points is the winner. And if it's tied, the player that located Planet X is the winner, and there's some more tiebreakers after that. Now, if you want to play the expert mode, you flip the board over, and now you have 18 sectors there, and the visible sky is 9 of those sectors. Now, you also have 2 conferences, once right before the 10th, and right before back to the 1st, there'll be a second conference where you get a second sort of clue there, and you can see where the different theories happen as well, so that's how the board is different. And if you flip your note sheet over, it now has the one that has the 18 sectors, and it actually has the different quantities that are there, and the different logic rules. And if you remember, the back of your player shield had the different logic for standard mode, but there's a little insert you can place on there for the expert mode, which tells you what the differences are as well for the logic. And as mentioned before in the theory phase, you can put up to 2 theories in expert mode. Well, there you have the search for Planet X, and as I showed in the overview, it is a pure logic and deduction game that also supports it with streamlined, interesting mechanisms like the way the time track works in submitting theories, and uses the app-based system to ensure that others can't break the game by giving a wrong answer like in many other deduction games. Now, if you'd like to see the final art, components, and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me in the description of this video, and it will take you directly to the Kickstarter project page, and I'm sure the fine folks at Fox Trot Games would love your support.